Start this.
I love
Hey
that haircut.
everybody, this is Petey from the Spin Rack, and we also have.
Calvin Ellis, ready to rock.
So today we are talking about the second episode of What If, and it's what if T'Challa was Star Lord, and then since was it Peter Quinn? He gave himself the name Star Lord. Someone online said, why would he actually call himself Star Lord? But we kind of in this episode they kind of was it Yandu kind of gave it to him, so they kind of played, kind of slipped by that part. But anyway, before you want to give an overview of this?
Well, in What If, we now get to experience, as Owatsu the Watcher does, the possibilities that go across the multiverse. Last week, we found out what if Captain America was a woman. Not Peggy Carter, a woman. Don't you forget it. This week, we had a much better episode in the form of, well, what if T'Challa went out to space like Peter Quill did? So we get to see that. So he's a young kid in Wakanda, and things play out similar to what we saw with Peter. The guys come, they abduct the wrong person, but he's such a spritey kid and everything of that nature. They're like, hey, this is great. We got this kid here and so on and so forth. And they take him for some romp. Next thing we know, we see a fully grown T'Challa in the same instances, rather, one of the same instances that we saw with Peter. But it's totally different. Where Peter was mediocre, we could say, and was a Star-Lord in his own right, or rather in his own mind, T'Challa actually embodies all those qualities that Peter was trying to put forward because he legitimized them. Because he stopped Thanos from killing half the universe simply by having a good conversation with him. So one of the things that we see, regardless of the situation, T'Challa is just one really cool dude. Nebula shows up, he's Cha-Cha. He's just got everything. Everybody's on this really cool level thanks to the fact that T'Challa took over instead of Peter. Then, of course, we got to find a way to get him back to Earth, so that brings in the Collector. But when we get back, it's everybody from the Guardians of the Galaxy hanging out with everybody in Wakanda. It's just like what would that guy say on Soul Train? Stone Gas, Cool Groove, whatever it may be. Everybody's just having a really good time. So, much better episode. Much, much better. What you got to say, Sam?
This episode for me, definitely feel good episode. But we kind of had that in the first sort of episode of What If. So this is, I know with the passing of Chadwick Boseman and him doing the voice for this, it does, does have a feel good thing to it. They went a little overboard having Thanos be a part of the team and have him be the muscle of this thing. But, it's just sort of this fun thing. And I think one of the things that now looking at it, because as a kid, it was hard to understand why these things were so heavy and why things would go left. But now seeing it being so positive, and then basically, if T'Challa got to, Thanos first, he could have been avoided everything. It's kind of say, well, why wouldn't we rather have this Earth? Or have the Earth with Peggy, that sort of thing. It's kind of one of these things where, is this a better reality than our own? And that's what the danger of doing something like this, where you have it be a little too good too good to be true type of thing. Not to say the story itself, but just the after effect. But I mean, they're taking these things and, they turn this into, I mean, even the Batman anime would have some level of drama in it, and this one, with the heist stuff, I just want a little more. And I'm like saying, I know for this one I'm gonna have to look besides it, because it has, it's like the Chadwick that we know and love as T'Challa, and it's having T'Challa back, but it also says, is this a sad thing to say when we get to the Black Panther movie? We're not going to have someone trying to be as having that presence that T'Challa had to the world, and that's that sort of thing that we're going to miss in having some of these other knuckleheads come in here, or have Ironheart, as announced, going to be put into the black. I'm going off the rails, but it's a fun episode, but a little too feel good for me. And anyway,
Oh man, you stopped. I was having fun watching that, teeter off the rails and skid on the side, and the sparks. It was fun watching.
it was,
No, I mean, I do think that's a good point. That, and this was something that in the comics, What If always made certain that they took care of, that whatever the alternative universe or the alternative story might be, it wasn't something that made you say, you know what, I'd rather see that than this right over here. So usually the outcomes were like, see, this is the reason why we need to keep what's going on, because the outcome over here is not necessarily the best one, or the story ends, or look, half the people die, or look, the Phoenix, she destroyed the earth, and now she's getting ready to destroy the whole universe, stuff like that. This one, however, for me, I was just so thoroughly, I found the first one to be so unimaginative at the end of the day, whereas this one I thought hit more of a what if button for me. Like, look, keep the core of this particular character, which you definitely have, but this shouldn't be a beat by beat thing of, well, everything that happened to Peter should basically be happening over here. And I like the liberties they took with it. That this guy can come and pretty much, yeah, he can pretty much come and be cool and just be rational with anybody for them to see, even to the point of Thanos saying, well, you know what, maybe you're right. Maybe this something I could do with the resources. Which, to be honest, he could have. He's got the Infinity Gauntlet. You don't have to kill half the people. You could just double the resources. You could do something of that nature. So, I could definitely see something like that working. Now, it was a fun episode, definitely a feel good episode at the end of the day. I've shared your concerns about what they're going to do with the film well before What If, as to, I mean, well, thankfully Mars isn't here to not be trolling both of us saying, well, they're gonna put Shuri in the suit and she's gonna be the new Black Panther because that's what they did in the comics. Blah 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 blah. But thankfully, I don't have to hear that nonsense except for except for myself, mocking him. But I don't know what at this point. I don't know what they're gonna do towards that. It's gonna be. I mean, it's gonna be a tough lift. Anytime you replace someone as an actor, and the actor was as tied to the character as Chadwick Boseman was. And in all honesty, he only made one Black Panther film. Everything else is, literally as a supporting character in the other films. And everybody is still like, no, no, no. He's still, that's how much of a impression he made on playing the character. So, for me, I'm like, look, you have to recast. And then, once you found somebody suitable, you go forward from there. You have to, give this person a chance to, endear the audience the same way that Chadwick Boseman did, but not just to say, hey, look, we're just going to regulate this to, some alternative universe and never look at this again. Primarily because I think T'Challa as a character is bigger than just one particular actor. Chadwick Boseman did the character, he did the character justice that, a fan of Black Panther like myself will always appreciate, but I do want to see them go forward with it. And I don't want to see them go forward, well, this is going to be a different one, or we're going to bring some alternate universe T'Challa in there and so on and so forth. But that's getting away from the show. A lot of the stuff here was, this was something I had been waiting for, something that was fun, something you could just plug into, wasn't necessarily set up for something else, didn't play by the numbers. A lot of the stuff that happens over here, it's just an original story, but they kept the core of most, if not all of the characters where they needed to be. Yondu was still coming over here trying to pick up strays or runaways. T'Challa is still the coolest cat who wants to, explore, wants to connect with other people. The collector still wants to collect stuff. Hey, what more can you ask?
the collector in the comics isn't that big a deal. So they did give him something to do in this thing, trying to keep some of what um you know what was in the movie, that wacky version of him, but they kind of toughened him up.
They got
So
some muscles.
that, and they of course they sidestepped the romance between Gamora, because obviously Thanos didn't destroy the planet. I guess he got there in time when he was a little kid and told him. So he's like, hey, it's like, hey, don't take over that planet. You could you can do this with your resource. Okay, I won't take Gamora because they don't want to mess with the romance thing. It's like that's something. It's a no. You
I
can't
thought the
have
romance.
anyone.
I
Not,
thought the
hmm?
romance wasn't the. I thought they were implying that the romance was between him and Nebula instead.
Well, that's the thing. They don't have Gamora in there at all. So it's kind of like, hey, we got these plums instead of. But
Plums instead of peaches.
yeah. So that's. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's just something that you just enjoy the sort of moment sort of thing. And just hoping next one, we get some heavy stuff in there instead of just saying let's shake up the bag and shake up the ice globe, and then we just get stuff mixed up in different ways rather than saying, hey, here's a story and let's do something way different. But anyway, um, Collector had some nutty stuff in there. Somehow it got the like. I want to know how he got the Wakanda thing in there. Well, I guess he just, like that's what's, I want to see the story behind that. It's like, oh, this is, no, still Yandu, this, that, and the other. But anyway, any other thoughts on this?
Was there something you weren't supposed to say? Did you, you know, was there something that you were not supposed to say? And I want to know if you said it. If not, you should say it so I know what it is that you needed to say.
About what?
That bric-a-brac with you and Mars before we started the show. Is there something that you weren't
So
supposed to
that's for
say?
the next show.
That's for the next show.
That's for our next show. So tune in for the next one, so you get to see the attack on the attack on Skull Island. I don't know. Yeah, but I mean, ultimately, this one, I think, I don't know. I guess the same. The animation looked a little different. I think there's a little more to it, in my opinion. Kind of liked it a little more in this one. I don't know. It looked more cartoony, which kind of worked for me. So the other one was really trying to go real. But I think I'm not sure if it's any different. Probably not. But for some reason, it worked just a little more. Even though the other one was really like Adam Hughes' comic art. So that's it. Spin a rack.
Out.